Hey, it's Leif Wellhaven. I'm up here with Shelby Joe Long. Today we're going to be talking about the Expertise Project. I own a company called LW Consulting. I do all things marketing and motivation, and I've been dying to hear all about Shelby and what she's got going on. I've known her a long time, and she's always got her hands in all these amazing projects. And today we're actually going to be talking about the Expertise Project. So Shelby, if you don't mind kind of telling us and the viewers and myself a little bit about more what that is exactly.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate you being here and conducting this interview. It's always great to be involved with the local community. I really appreciate that, and always seeing you at the local events and supporting the local community like we do. And because we're both about business growth, and small businesses need all the dimensions that they can right now and anytime to be able to add some more monetization of their ideas to their business practices. And that's really what the Expertise Project is all about, is taking your expertise, particularly if you're talking about, if you're an author and you've written a book, or you're an expert in any field in particular, it's really a nice, simple process to take that expertise, that intellectual property that's yours, and create a product out of it. So you can teach others to do what you know how to do. And that's what the Expertise Project is it walks you through the process of how to create that, how to create your community, and how to further monetize your expertise and add dimensions to your business.
Well, that's perfect. This is actually really timely topic, because last year I had a client who was an author, and she wanted me to help her kind of market herself and her books and become a publicist, which I had never done before. And so really when I first met with her, I was actually very terrified because I typically work with small businesses. Yeah. And so when she came to me, I was like, I didn't want to say no, so I was like, well, sure, I'll help you. And then I was like, oh gosh, now what do I do, right? So give us a kind of a more in-depth example. You had some great takeaways the last time you said dimensions and monetization. So what does that really mean to somebody who's maybe written a book or two, they've got it on Amazon, they've got some great thoughts together, but they really just don't know how to market or promote themselves or figure out a way to, like you said, take that gift that they have, this expertise that they have, and really get it out there to the masses. So talk a little more in depth about it.
Sure. I say it's a simple process. It's actually a very involved process. So we go through 4 different phases, and the key part when you write a book and you have some element of expertise and you speak within a certain audience, the key part of that is to be able to identify yourself outside of that audience, to make your message adaptable to a bigger audience, to create that bridge between your ideas and a community, to serve an ideal client. That's really where it is. So the first thing that we do is focus on your brand and focus on your identity and make sure that there's clarity in who you are, who you serve, and what you are providing. And then we get into the idea section, which is taking your process and breaking it down into easy step-by-step solutions so you can guide other people toward that transformation that you have already achieved.
Wow, no, that's really good. I like that, because this gal that I worked with last year, when I first met her, she was, I would say, very much an introvert, because she's an author, so that made sense to me. She didn't really know much about marketing, things like that, but I loved her message. Her message for her was about empowering women. And so even though her books were about different subjects and fiction topics and things like this, but I recognized that it was about, she really wanted to empower people, and in particular women, which I thought was a great message, right? So do you work with authors that are just starting out, or do they have to have the book complete? What does that look like?
I work with authors of all respects, and you don't necessarily have to be an author to go through the program either. But the authors that I have worked with in the past have been more in the coaching realm and the business realm, trying to get their message to a larger audience, trying to monetize their expertise in a way that they can scale their product rather working one-on-one with people. So that's where it tends to lie. But really, I've worked with a manifestation coach of how to manifest your own life and be more engaged, and very much a women's empowerment type of group too. But a lot of that is, you develop your processes. You also have to engage in a community and make sure you have that community support. And not just a local community, but your online community. How do you create that support? Create a community of followers to your message, your ideals, and then figure out how to best implement that program with that audience.
So perfect. So this gal, for example, she had this book, a couple books actually, great writer, but didn't necessarily know a lot about how to monetize it and get outside of that. So having somebody like you in her life that could kind of coach her and walk her through those steps would be hugely helpful.
That sounds like a perfect client for me.
Perfect client. So you talked about some other different kinds of clients and things like that. So let's pick on my business a little bit. So
okay.
I do marketing and motivation, and so I'm good at that piece, but how do I kind of step outside of myself? Because sometimes that's hard. I live in a bubble like we all do. And so how do you get people to kind of step outside and really take a kind of that 30,000 foot view, so to speak?
Sure. I love that phrase, and my business partner uses that phrase. It is a challenge to step outside and think about your business practices and the process that you go through with every client. Maybe you don't follow a sequential process, but you probably follow certain themes. In marketing, you're probably talking about branding. You're probably talking about ideal audience. You're probably talking about the audience that you want to reach. You're probably talking about channels and methods of communication. So taking a step back and looking at those main themes really help you develop your own unique program, the LW Consulting marketing program that's different from any other marketing program that's out there.
Right. Very
so
true.
It's unique, it's custom, it's branded to you, and it does nothing but reinforce your credibility and add to your business.
Well, it's always good to kind of take a step back, because I think I get kind of not wallowed in, but I just get in that bubble, and I'm kind of doing the same things over and over, and then we're always trying to add in new channels, different platforms and things like that. But it's easy to get comfortable kind of doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And so I love the fact that you're doing this with the Expertise Project. Any parting words on the Expertise Project? How do people get involved? How do they find you? How does that all work?
It's easy to find me at my website, which is shelbyjolongcoaching.com. I'm active on social media. I have a group on social media on Facebook called Monetize Your Expertise. In that group, I like to build community around that idea of how we can transform our knowledge into a product and how we can monetize that expertise in multiple different ways, whether it's a course or a program or whether it's in a workshop or a group activity, whatever that is. We talk about ways that we can think about that, because there's so many opportunities to do that. So you can follow me on Facebook. You can get involved with the Monetize Your Expertise group. Also, I'll leave my number and my email on the podcast site so you can see where to contact me, and would love to talk to you more about it.
So one last takeaway before we wrap up. You mentioned something that really kind of resonated with me. You were talking about the community piece. And so if it is a Facebook group, for example, you can all learn from each other, right?
Exactly.
As opposed to, again, that's probably stepping outside the bubble, hearing what other people have done, maybe what's worked, maybe what's not worked. That community support's always important. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
I'd love to. Community, there's the internal community, and then there's your external community. And the external community is like that Facebook chamber groups, your biz-to-biz groups. Those are all the groups that know you, that are involved with you, that know what you have to offer. And that's such a critical importance to just have that community to learn from and to engage in business practices with, to see what works, what doesn't work, what has been successful in this community before. Same is true with your online communities. But I think the community is also an integral part of your program and your coaching idea, because you develop a community, you learn from each other. We're coaches, we're entrepreneurs, so stepping back and looking at the magic can happen within a small group environment where you're solving other problems, you're creating solutions together, maybe you're combining efforts to move forward. All of those possibilities happen when you have an internal group and an external group, as a matter of fact, because we just have to get out of our comfort zones, create that community, and look to all of the people that are solving problems together, not just us.
Yeah, that comfort zone is difficult, right, for everybody. And I think the last thing, I said that 3 times now, but you did mention something about working together as a group, and I think that's really cool because you become advocates for each other, right? And you can advocate and become fans, and I call it friend raising, that kind of thing. That's really great to bring people along with you, because if they should run into an opportunity to refer you,
absolutely,
like this for me, I'm going to do it, right? So I think that's powerful.
Extremely powerful.
So there you go. That's Shelby Jo Long with the Expertise Project. Thanks, Shelby. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you, Leif. I appreciate it.
You bet.